Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Black Business and Professional Association's discussion about Little Jamaica, the recovery plan. We've been talking for the past few weeks about our remembrances of Little Jamaica. And now today, we're going to have experts and people with great knowledge share what is going to be happening as we all work on the recovery plan. So I want to welcome Nadine Spencer, President of the BBPA, Dane Williams, and Cheryl Case. So let me take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about them. My name is Sandra Whiting, and it's my pleasure and privilege to be your host this afternoon. Let me first introduce Nadine Spencer. She's the CEO of Brand EQ Group, Inc., a global agency specializing in social change marketing, communications, and public relations. She's the president of BBPA, and she has been acknowledged in 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women, and she has also herself received the Harry Jerome Business Award. Welcome, Nadine. And
Thank
next
you.
we have Dane Williams, Vice Chair, Black Urbanism TO, and co-founder of Black Urbanism TO. He was born and raised in Toronto and has called Little Jamaica a second home, as it was the original landing spot for his grandmother, mother, and uncle when they arrived in Canada 50 years ago. He grew up in that neighborhood, so he knows it well. He's developed a strong sense of devotion for the nonprofit sector. He is part of the executive committee of the Kingsmen Club of Eglinton, but you're now back in Toronto, right, Mr. Dane?
Yes, I am.
He now works at the University of Toronto as a human resources consultant. Welcome, Dane.
Thank you.
And next we have Cheryl Case, Principal Urban Planner, CP Planning. She practices a human rights approach to community planning and coordinates with charities, private sector industries, and communities to resource systems necessary to secure dignified living for all people. Welcome all. We will let you know when our final participant has joined us. He should be here any minute. But before we get started, as a little icebreaker, I always like to ask people a question. So I would like to ask each of you, what do you see as your superpower? Cheryl, start with you.
Okay, I think my superpower is my ability to think big, and I don't really color in the lines at all. And so that has allowed me to be able to be in rooms with fantastic people like you. And so yeah, that would be my superpower, is just thinking outside the lines. I also love painting, so I think that's special.
Okay. Dane, what's your superpower?
I think me, consciously being able to relate to other people, really always being open to hear, what other people have to say and their insight, taking that within myself and then creating some sort of relatability, and then building bonds through that connection. So for me, it's really, I think my superpower is active listening, and using my active listening skills to organize and create collaboration and long-lasting relationships. I think that's something that has guided me through my life, and it's been my superpower, and I've leaned on it heavily.
Excellent. And Nadine, what would you say your superpower is?
Big vision. I see the future, and it really is my superpower. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm psychic. Not many people know. And really, it's part of my peculiar asset, but I am psychic. And but it's vision. You know, I see far, I see big, as you know, Cheryl says she sees, you know, colors outside the lines, but it's what she sees. But I'm a big picture thinker, and that superpower has guided me through many things, to see the possibilities as well, to see possibilities in people, places and things. And because of that, I've sort of incorporated that into my career, and in, you know, just big vision.
Thank you. So now, Ron, thank you for joining. Ron Nash, I'm going to introduce you, Ron, and then we'll ask you your superpower. So Ron is an economic partnership advisor with the City of Toronto and is a passionate city builder. He's part of a dynamic team at the forefront of business improvement area development. He advises BIA boards on decision-making, competitiveness, streetscape design, and he connects the city, businesses, and communities. And he was most recently involved with the Mayor's Roundtable on Black Business and rolling out the Cafe Tio program. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you so much.
And what is your superpower?
Oh, catching me off guard. My goodness, no time to dream. I always think that I'm a dreamer, but clearly not. I would have the answer off the tip of my tongue. But I would say probably mundane, but important, probably patience. Patience, patience, patience.
That is an excellent superpower in the job you have. So I'm going to start off by asking Nadine to talk about what has been the BBPA's role in this new recovery plan that is going to be talked about tonight for the Eglinton West Little Jamaica.
So, you know, this initiative with Little Jamaica came out of the Mayor's Roundtable that we had. I think it was last February, but maybe it was 2 Februaries ago. And, you know, at the time, I remember Jimmy Wisdom was at the table, and we talked a lot about what was happening with the businesses and what needed to happen for sustainability. And, you know, the BBPA is an organization that has been doing work in our community for 38 years. And, you know, Little Jamaica is the businesses in Little Jamaica is important to us because our mandate is to create economic opportunity for all businesses. And I say nobody gets left behind. And, you know, when I started with the BBPA 3 years ago, many individuals said, you know, we really should be doing something. We should be working with the businesses. There's a lot that needs to happen. And so, you know, from the Mayor's Economic Roundtable, when this opportunity came, we thought, yes, you know, this is the right thing to do. We will do it. We'll work with the businesses. And as we you know, created a program and, you know, awareness, and we started with the initiative, we looked at so now we're working with the businesses and what happens after. You know, we started, just to let you know, Sandra, we started this before COVID happened. So, you know, the businesses, you know, had the challenges, and you'll hear from, you know, the LRT expansion and all of that, but then COVID happened. And so when that happened, we thought there needs to be a recovery plan. But even before we planned the recovery, because out of COVID, we had planned a future sustainable plan. And so it's now, you know, combined together. And so we've been working since February with the businesses, and then we thought, okay, what's next? And so this conversation, this dialogue, is to talk about the next for that area for the businesses, and what do we do to empower and work with for sustainability over many years. So that's what the recovery plan is all about.
Okay, so thank you. I'll come back and ask questions, but I'd like each person to just tell me their thoughts. And next I'm going to ask Dane, can you tell me what's your involvement with this recovery plan?
Sure. Sandra, I'll get into that. And like, first and foremost, there's just something that's kind of weighing in on my heart that I want to make sure that I speak to, because we're speaking about land and like, you know, ownership, and we're going to get really heavy into those things. So, you know, at first, I just want to acknowledge that we can't acknowledge as Black people, like the struggle of land and ownership without acknowledging the origins of the land. And I want us to be conscious in our thoughts here and the place and these lands. and, you know, really recognize the land and express gratitude and appreciation to those who, you know, territory we reside on, and a way of like making sure that we're honoring the indigenous people, and how fortunate we are here to be able to access this land, reside on the land, and really just make sure that we seek to understand our place within that history. So I just wanted to kind of go through a land acknowledgement first. So I just like to acknowledge the land we are meeting on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. So I just wanted to highlight that because I know that it's important as we speak to land that we, you know, identify the original, you know, owners of the land before we continue. But
You're very right, Dane. And the District 1 Spoon Treaty acknowledges that there is one dish, one spoon to be shared among us all. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah.
no problem, no problem. I know that we're all thinking that, and I know that we all have that in our hearts. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we're speaking that before we proceed. So thank you so much. And Sandra, kind of to what you have said for us. So just to kind of quickly highlight, Black Urbanism TO, co-founder with Romaine Baker and amazing members of Black Urbanism Toronto, we've been able to you know, focus on highlighting and celebrating the contributions of Black Torontonians in the building of the city of Toronto, and to engage in Black communities in re-envisioning our neighborhoods to support our social, economic, and cultural advancement. So, you know, for us, particularly with Little Jamaica, we've been really focusing on amplifying the community, the community's voice, and the needs of the Black businesses. For us, we're really focused on the facilitation aspect. You know, the Black businesses on Eglinton West, like they're such like hard workers. You know, they're focused on, you know, making ends meet and really focusing on, you know, giving their all into their business, that a lot of the times, you know, they don't have the necessary time to organize and get together and have these discussions. So for us as an organization, we definitely want to be there to amplify their voice, understand their needs, and then make sure that that information is provided to the necessary stakeholders and you know, parties involved. So for us, we're really focused on the facilitation aspect, engaging the business owners and really understand what their concerns are, and then work towards creating the solutions for those needs and those problems.
So you were part of a recovery plan document. What was your contribution to that?
Yeah, so we actually, in February, Black Urbanism Toronto co-hosted the Black Business Conversation sessions with a number of our partners and allies. So Open Architect Collaborative Canada, URSA, EPA, and then representatives from Parkdale People's Economy. You know, the primary audience was the Black business owners in the 3 BIAs from Marley Avenue to Keele. But we also had representation from current and past residences. So consultation was under Toronto's Confronting Anti-Black Racism Unit, Growing in Place initiative, which is focusing on mitigating displacement caused by gentrification and development. You know, the Black communities aren't meaningfully engaged when plans and policies are being developed, as we know. So, you know, the approach that we took on Eglinton was really to set the standard for how Black and other racialized communities can participate in shaping our neighborhoods going forward. You know, with the LRT and the construction, the community felt, and the businesses specifically felt that they weren't engaged appropriately. So, you know, what we're focusing on now is like building a framework to show, Keele, yeah, Marley to Keele, or Allen. And, you know, we really were focused on like, you know, creating that, you know, framework where we can kind of be able to demonstrate this is how true engagement of a community looks like, right? You know, it's really important for, you know, these stakeholders and these individuals to really be mindful of the cultural and, you know, the cultural aspects of communities, and understanding that, you know, redevelopment is obviously can be positive, but there's a way, an intentional way of how you interact and engage with communities and at the forefront. And I know that's one of Cheryl's like main, kind of missions and values with CP planning is just like planning with a human rights element and just understanding the importance of, these cultural heritage and the history of the community, and really trying to make sure that while you're redeveloping and planning the area, that you're being intentional and really, understanding the heart and soul of the community.
Okay, thank you, Dane. I would like now to ask Ron Nash, who works with the city. Tell us your role in this whole recovery plan that is being proposed.
Sure. Thank you very much. Very well said, Dane. I'd like to just kind of focus on, I guess, my role where I sit within the city, and that's Economic Development and Culture Division, and focus mainly on the business improvement areas. That's been our traditional tool to deliver, our vehicle to deliver services and programs to businesses. Limited staff, clearly, and there are quite a few businesses all across the city. So by working with the businesses to help them organize to represent the various businesses in the area, that is usually the key mechanism. So it's self-funded organization, and they are self-organizing, and they represent whatever boundary they select. So that's our traditional tool. In some cases, it's exemplary. It's a made in City of Toronto model. And in some cases, it doesn't always work very well. You get from one extreme to the other. And now over time, we've seen there's a bit of a feedback loop. We see what works, what does not work, and we're always very, very attentive to that. We've developed some enhanced programming to assist businesses. There's a part of a new unit in the city called Enterprise Toronto, where they do a lot of work with the individual businesses. And I can speak to you about some of the individuals' support, financial and otherwise, other business advisory support. So then some of the work that Cheryl and Dane are doing, it's very complementary, and we appreciate that, to what we are capable of doing. And especially through the Mayor's Roundtable, we've been working with, we've engaged BBPA, again, as an extension of our activities and what we're able to accomplish. Like, as I mentioned initially, we're very limited, so we work with stakeholders in the community who can help us accomplish our objectives. And that's just a start.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you because I need you to hone a little bit more. You say you're limited, but I need to know what can you do in your... So I'm going to ask Cheryl, however. Cheryl, what are your thoughts in putting and working on this recovery plan document? And how do you see your organization remaining involved going forward?
So I think I also want to again thank Dane for his light acknowledgement. When we think about our history as Black people, and many of us come from the Caribbean, how did we get there, right? Who was there first before we were brought there? And then when we came here, it's again another piece of land that was, essentially taken from its original inhabitants. And the Toronto Treaty signed in 1805 was an agreement to this whole city of Toronto for the price of 10 pounds of bread. So when we think about recovery, I think, one is another way of thinking about recovery. It's also about healing, right? How do we heal from all of those hundreds of years of trauma and of essentially a theft and of our potential, right? Like, we've been, as people, doing our best to make amends with the fact that we've had all these resources stolen from us, and that we've had these opportunities stolen from us. And we're grateful to be at a time where our human dignity is being respected more so than it has in the past, right? And we're able to have these conversations. And so, to me, recovery is not just about recovering to post-COVID times. It's about recovering to a time of being independent and being strong in our ability to determine our future, and that includes having access to affordable housing, affordable spaces for retail, the potential and opportunities to engage in cultural and artistic practices without without having it to be a huge risk, right? Like there are a lot of amazing artists that I've met through my work in the community, and it's really heartbreaking actually to know that many of them feel that, you know, going into the arts is actually a huge risk onto themselves, right? And for them, many of them, they go into it knowing that it's a huge challenge, and for their challenge, we are able to consume their beauty, right, through the talents that they put into practice. But to be an artist should not be in any way a sacrifice of the self. So in Black Rivers in Eglinton, the project that I've been doing over the last year with Black Rivers in Toronto and all the amazing partners in the community, we've been having these conversations about, you know, what are the resources that we need to engage in these cultural practices and to feel sustained in our ability to put ourselves into these spaces.
What have you heard? You've been part of the conversation. We need to hear. What have you heard?
Yeah. So things that we've heard from, in terms of like the top priorities from communities have been, number one has been actually housing. People are very concerned with their access to housing, and they say that the lack of access to affordable housing makes it difficult for them to engage in these cultural activities and to be able to, you know, visit the local businesses, to be able to walk down the streets of their neighborhood. You know, there was one artist who moved to Cambridge because she couldn't afford to live in the neighborhood anymore. You know, the next priority from that is culture and business, right? The ability to be able to walk down the street and see businesses that sell patties, authentic patties and doubles and other things like that from our communities. And like the people, you know, this is from a survey that I put out in the community, right? Like these people are highly engaged. Like they love enjoying the food. They love attending faith-based events. They, like, when I asked them what is the number one priority, number one was the people. That was followed by restaurants, and then their own personal historic connections, right? So the very real ability to walk, you know, is so important. And so those are some of the things that I've heard.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl. So Ron, back to you. How will the city help small businesses recover from not only the pandemic, and how will they address the ongoing Metrolink construction, which has caused so many businesses in the past 10 years to either give up or really have a really challenging time? How is the city going to help?
Okay, so that's a very big two-parter question. I guess maybe I'll speak very, very briefly on the Metrolinks piece, because that's a provincial agency project, and we've been making tremendous efforts to work with them to do a lot of remediation to address the issues. So I'll leave it there. I don't know, have you had Metrolinks on in the past to speak about their project? And
not yet, but that's coming, could come up.
Okay, I think that would be quite instructive.
Yeah.
But I cannot speak on their behalf. But what the city is doing most immediately, well, there's the programs that Nadine has mentioned, the work that they're doing. I think she'll get into that a little bit. But from a small business perspective, we've developed a number of programs, and I think I forwarded you, I don't know if you have a slide.
Yes, we
or
can put
a
that
list
up now. We could put the slide up now.
So, and this is, I guess, in general, and then to if any of the individual businesses are have tuned in. If you're not aware of some of these programs, I can just, again, I won't take up all your time, but a new program we've just launched, it's called the Retail Accelerator Program. We'll be rolling it out very soon, and it's aimed to help Main Street retail businesses with training, the system with ongoing operations, marketing, and there's also a grant attached to that of up to $5,000 for small and medium business. That's one of the things we've just introduced. And like I said before, there's that feedback loop. We try to understand where there are gaps, where there are needs, and we try to develop programming to address those. That's something we hear from businesses, so that's how we tend to respond. Just at the top of the list in alphabetical order, there's Business Advice TO, free online assistance for entrepreneurs and leadership, business support, There's a commercial facade. I'll really go through these quickly. Facade improvement program to provides 50%, 50-50 grant up to about $12,000 to fix up the front of your business and any elements at the front of your business. There's Digital Main Street. This is free, provides support to help you go online. Digital transformation grant. There's, slow down. People can see these, but I'll hone in on some of the more relevant ones. For example, the Innovation Fund, that's for the BIs themselves to help promote, come up with innovative ideas to improve the area. There's something we introduced about maybe a year and a half ago, Local Leadership Fund. And this one is for people in the BI community who are looking to advance their skills around local economic development. And we're delivering that in partnership with Ryerson University. There's a Shop Here program. Again, assistance to set up an online business, free, no cost to businesses. There's also a starter company for female funders program. Again, some financial assistance focused on women entrepreneurs. And then there's some other resources. And actually, you can make this available because the headings highlighted in blue will take you to the appropriate link. And then another program, just scroll up a little bit more. Or sorry, down so I can see the bottom of the page. Yeah, and then we have a couple of other programs coming up soon in development. This one is called a pop-up shop program, where we'll be providing assistance to people who are interested into going into vacant businesses. And it's a kind of a program, incubator type program. People have fresh ideas they want to start to set up on Main Street. And this could be an opportunity just to start small and then scale up over time. And then we have another program that we're working on called Locate Here, where we will provide a lot of data around the area, the demographics, as much as we can get to provide entrepreneurs who want to, this will be citywide, but especially on Eglinton, it's clearly relevant, where people want to start new businesses, enhance their businesses, grow their businesses. We'll be providing a lot of background data because often it's a tremendous effort to go out and get this, and it's something that we will make available to entrepreneurs who are in the area to expand and who want to locate.
Excellent number of programs run, and you and I chatted briefly that one of the challenges, and I've been reading about it in the Toronto Star on the weekend, that many of these programs are not being readily accessed by the people who most need it, minority businesses. And so one of the things we talked about, how can you do a better job of letting the people who need to know about these things really hear about them?
Yeah, and this is a part of a challenge. We could have 50 more programs if we don't take the effort to work with our local partners and to essentially get the word out. Then the funding, the resources will just be sitting there and go for naught. So that doesn't benefit us or the clients, anyone interested in enhancing their business. So one of the things, again, going back to repeating myself, but I really want to close the loop on some of this, the work that we're doing with BBPA. I think the work that they're doing on the street, they're working very closely with the businesses. They're doing a lot of, I guess it used to be virtual visits. I think they're now literally hitting the street and letting, because we could mention it once, we could put an ad in the newspaper, clearly not enough. We have to be repeating the message. We have to get the message on target, get it to the right people. And then I think we'll find a reasonable level of success, but I want more than reasonable. I want to ensure that the businesses that need it, get to it and take full advantage of it.
So amazing. So I want to just go back to Nadine, because I've put on the chat that this list will be shared on the BBPA's website. Somebody says, how about advertising on the most popular social media platforms, less expensive? Nadine, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I really want to acknowledge the city of Toronto and the Confronting Anti-Black Racism Unit for the work that they're doing. This list that Ron has just shared, it's incredible. I hear this and I'm thinking, this is great for any business, right? You know, this is what we call the fundamentals of business success, and this is a great list. There's no reason to not take advantage of this, and so, but what we do recognize at the BBPA is that when you're under stress of working 12-hour days and you know things are, you're not meeting the rent and things are tough, that one may not necessarily pay attention to all these amazing programs that's being offered. So the solution, we literally are working with the businesses hand in hand, one by one. We'll be launching our BADES program, you heard it here first, at the BBPA, which is Business Advisory Implementation and Development Services. And it's a service that will be provided by the BBPA to all businesses, where literally we will take the businesses hand by hand, one by one, hold their hand to navigate them through this process of getting these various programs in their business. For example, I think like the Digital Main Street, where we're already working with, I think one of the businesses has already gotten that. We've been working with Benny Buka. You had her on last week from Benny Boo Styles on the Retail Accelerator program. So we're reaching out and working with the businesses one by one. So nobody gets left behind, and we're navigating them through these programs. So, you know, they can have it all, they can have it. They can use these resources that is available.
Okay, one of the questions, Nadine, can this be forwarded to all the participants after the webinar? Your list is
absolutely, yes, absolutely. It'll be available on the BBPA's website, and this webinar also will be taped and is being recorded and will be on the BBPA's website as well.
I think they wanted it sent via the email.
That can be done, absolutely. Email,
yeah,
email, yeah, absolutely.
So yes to all of that. And Martine says that is amazing that you will work with businesses one-on-one. And that brings me to one of the questions I had. Who is the team at BBPA, and how can other people get involved if this is something that is speaking to them as they're listening?
Wonderful. So today, this week on Monday, we just announced our new executive director who's also online. Fran, are you here? Can we put you on camera for a minute? Fran, are you here? Frances Del Sol is the new executive director of the BBPA. Congratulations to her and to the organization. And, you know, we have a marketer, Uju, who's online as well, and Gavin, and also, you know, I'm always here to support. But we have an amazing team at the BBPA that cares about the community, the businesses, and their success. And they're here to, you know, Gavin will be on the street, up and down to the stores, talking about the services that is available to them. And then, you know, we've already have a lot of the businesses enrolled. There's a website, thelittlemajamaica.com, where businesses are featured, and we continue to feature those businesses. It was mentioned social media, advertising on social media. We, as part of our awareness strategy for Little Jamaica and the businesses, is we have a full marketing campaign. We'll be doing a featured video, we'll be doing campaigns online, we'll be doing social media, and the social media has already gotten a lot of traction, a lot of growth, and people are very interested. We have businesses that want to open up on Eglinton West. So our program is twofold. It's not just to bring people, it's to bring businesses there as well.
Okay, thank you. A lot of questions in the chat giving you lots of ideas how to promote, and trust that I know that BBPA will be taking a look at all of these suggestions of using email signatures that route people to these programs, radio, all of those things will be done. I want to get back to Dane. You mentioned briefly that Little Jamaica is considered from Marley to Kiel. Is that correct? That's the correct boundary? Or is it not formally yet? Tell me.
Well, it's exactly. It's not formally. It's you know, informally known as Little Jamaica. So a lot of the times when we resonate with Little Jamaica, we think of from like Marley to Oakwood.
Oakwood, yes.
but we got to give a shout out to Dufferin and Kiel as well, because they are definitely an extension and a part of Little Jamaica as well. You know, Kiel has, you know, Sunrise Bakery, you know, Tanel Patty's shop. So, you know, Kiel has a lot of influential Black owned businesses. So we have to make sure that they're in the conversation as well. And that's one of the things that we wanted to bring forward as an organization, especially specifically to the city, speaking towards, and this also probably bridges towards, and I mean, there can be discussions as well from a BIA perspective, of really engaging in the conversation about officially rebranding and naming that as Little Jamaica. That's one of the recommendations that's in our Black Business Report that we've actually released today. And I'll make sure that I do release the the report to the chat so that everyone does have a copy. But for us, that's one of the main recommendations that we are pushing forward, and we want to call to action because essentially there's no, I mean, from our concern, there's really, from our stance, there's really no, you know, there's really nothing stopping that rebranding of that area. And, you know, John Tory was on in the first session. He mentions the area as Little Jamaica. City officials mention it as Little Jamaica. However, it is not branded as such.
Can I stop you there, Dane, to ask you though, do you have a better sense, someone in the chat asked, of the mix of Black and Caribbean owned businesses, Jamaicans versus others, to justify that whole area being called that? It's a question.
That's a very good question. So I think for us as an organization, the main important thing for us, again, as we say, we're facilitators of the community, is to put that question forward to the community. Essentially for us as an organization, the main important thing is that there's some sort of Afro-Caribbean representation of that area. You know, for us, we recognize it as Little Jamaica because of, you know, the history of in the 70s and the 80s, the reggae artists that came from Jamaica to record reggae music, and really, you know, the vibe that was there during the 70s and 80s. And you know, the Jamaican population that immigrated specifically to that area. However, Sandra, like for us, I think the most important thing is that's the acknowledgement as Black people. You know, I think for us, that's really the most important thing, that Black people in Toronto, in Canada, have a place where they can, you know, unapologetically be themselves. Enjoy their culture, enjoy their history, enjoy everything that makes them who they are, and then also have a place where other individuals can come and consume Black culture and understand us as people. That's how people connect and, you know, have discussions and have understanding of one another by, you know, consuming each other's goods. Okay. So, I mean, for me, in that stance, I think as an organization, our stance is that we really just want this place, this area to be branded as, you know, a community of, you know, Afro-Caribbean and their contributions to Toronto.
Perfect. Thank you.
And that's it. Thank you.
Somebody on the chat said, is BBPA supporting all Black businesses? I will answer that. Yes, yes, and yes. So I don't think an organization called Black Business and Professional would not be supporting all Black businesses. But this focus is on that area. For example, we mentioned Benny Boo. She's African descent. She's being supported. She's a Black business. So just everybody, don't panic about that part. That is going to be done. Ron, I wanted to ask you, are there any plans to attract new businesses to that area? And how is the city planning to do that?
Currently, I guess the focus, as Nadine mentioned, it's prior to COVID, we had started the semblance of developing a plan along with, I guess, the initiative came from the mayor, and I've been neglectful to mention the Confronting Anti-Black Racism Unit, which we're working very, very closely with them on all of the things that we do, and the mayor's supportive, and the local councillors, and also senior staff. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the support that there is at City Hall. So this all started before COVID, and we've had to really pivot and focus on the most immediate priorities right now, and that is helping businesses survive. Meanwhile, we still have in our sightlines post-COVID recovery, and then at some point we will get back to formulating plans, doing additional consultation to try to understand the proper approach to take to recruiting businesses to the area to reflect the Little Jamaica community and businesses that want to be part of the community. But at this point, there's no fulsome or comprehensive plan. But we've in discussions with various stakeholders and individual businesses especially, we have, similar to the list that I went through, we have a laundry list of initiatives and number of things that we want to do. And I guess probably the plan that Dane and Black Urbanism Toronto, I think I'm very excited to see that. I think that can help inform the direction that we're taking in terms of developing a comprehensive plan to look at the area completely.
Thank you. And Dane, thank you for putting it up. Cheryl, back to you. Because you are the heart, you know, you're dealing with the heart. You're dealing with the feelings and the emotions and the well-being of people, which is so important. You know, we'd like to talk about the money and but the heart. So you mentioned a lot about artists, and I am very much a supporter of how artists help to make a community whole. Because, you know, you can sell the patty and you can, all that good stuff, feed the body, but we got to feed the soul. So when you are talking to artists, what is it you are hoping to have happen in that neighborhood?
Yeah, I think it'd be a key thing would be to have more spaces for people to share their art, right? Like we have the Nia Center for the Arts, which is an amazing location. It's just on Oakwood. But you know, as you know, Dan and we've all mentioned, like the neighborhood is really like it goes all the way to Keel, right? And if you look at the city, their assessment of the neighborhood, they even themselves identify a lack of community spaces, a lack of gathering spaces, a lack of even just opportunities for people to engage in that artistic practice. So that's another one of the things that has come up from the artists is just a lack of space to produce as well as to share art, right? Like if you're gonna go downtown to go to a show, right? You should be able to go to Little Jamaica to watch a show as well.
Okay, and no, last week, Dr. Jill Andrew talked a lot about rent and ability to pay rent, which is many areas of Toronto that has been a huge problem. What made the place active was its artists and its people who gave it that vibe, and then it becomes the in place, and now artists can't afford to live there. So is that part of your report, Jane and Cheryl? This whole issue of how you're going to get people to be able to actually afford to be in that neighborhood? Is that part of the report?
Yeah, so that's something that I've been focusing a little bit more on in my report, because you know, I talk about culture and a lot of the resources for culture, and housing is, as I mentioned in my earlier statements, is one of the most noted resources that people are requiring to engage in a culture. So when it comes to housing affordability, you know, being honest, unfortunately, we had a housing workshop. Dean and I were working on a housing workshop, and it was to be planned. It was planned for the weekend after the shutdowns happened. So we weren't able to have a very deep exercise when it comes to, you know, planning and housing. But, you know, I've been able to have a lot of really great conversations with people. And, you know, one of the things that was identified is that, you know, change is needed, right? The city already has plans themselves to build, you know, mid-rise along the main streets. It's key that that includes affordable housing and that there are targets put in place for that housing. And then also when you think about off the main streets, in the interior parts of the neighborhood where people are renting basements, they're renting maybe a floor of a house, how do we ensure that that housing is affordable as well?
Okay.
Yeah.
So all that is part. One, Ekua Kojo says, along with diversifying businesses, will there be any initiatives to increase health, wellness, and fitness business and facilities? These seem to be less accessible in our Black communities. Anybody want to jump in on that? Ron or Dane? Any thoughts?
I wish I had my
Or-
colleague, as I mentioned, from the Confronting Anti-Black Racism Unit. They're doing a lot of work, which I wish I could speak to it, but I know that there's a lot of work taking place that people aren't aware of, but that's a key priority, health and wellness within the Black community.
Okay.
Again, I wish I had a bit more for you, but I know it's something that's being seriously considered at City Hall.
Awesome, awesome. So one of the things I would like to ask Nadine at this time, because you know, this is a lot of work. The BBPA is a volunteer organization who just got its first ED 2 days ago. Very limited staff, volunteers, and I want to stress that to people. Volunteers are people who are not paid. They have chosen to get involved because it matters. So some people are asking, what can they do to get involved? So Nadine, how can other community members join with you all to get all this work done? Because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, so we welcome we welcome volunteers, we welcome individuals lending a hand. When we sent out the newsletter, actually the press release, we had a lot of individuals calling and asking how they could help. And so what we've done, we've struck up a committee called Little Jamaica. So you can email the BBPA to volunteer for that committee. We had a lawyer who wrote in that said he wanted to help. So a lot of people are writing in, and we welcome the help. And I want to say, you know, working with Ron, Cheryl, Dane, they've been amazing. You know, I think, you know, especially, you know, Ron from the city has gone over and above the call of duty. You know, I always say, Ron, that, you know, it's more than we expect. You've surpassed, you and the team, Amara and Ania. I mean, it's been amazing, but what we want is more community people, more individuals who are able to, if you have the time, even if it's an hour, email us at the BBPA and, you know, participate in any way, shape, or form that you can.
Okay, I would like, Gavin, can you put up the thing that shows what BBPA is actually committing to at this time? So, so Nadine, if you could just walk us through, it says here, so if you could just talk through all these things.
Absolutely. So our new program that we'll be launching called the BADES program, which is Business Advisor Implementation and Development Services, will work with the businesses, as I mentioned, hand in hand. One of the things we found in the COVID era was that, you know, many businesses weren't able to get the help they need from the various stimuluses offered by the government. And what did that look like? You know, we didn't, and I'll say the collective we, you know, we weren't registered, our taxes weren't filed. We didn't have all the things that would help us get the funding, all the things that would enable sustainability for our business. And so what we're doing essentially is having these services that will be provided to members, to businesses at no cost. So one of the challenges we found with some of the businesses was their taxes wasn't done for many years. The BBPA now, with this new service, is going to do the taxes. HR services, if you have a payroll that needs to get done, we're gonna do this for these businesses at no cost, because what we want to do is enable a future successful economy for every Black business where there's no impediment. There's no reason why your business will not succeed. Marketing plan, a business plan, all of this will be done by experts at the BBPA. And you know, we are hoping and we want all businesses to take advantage of this. And when Gavin goes out on the street and myself and Uju to talk with the businesses, these are the programs that's available that we will have.
So may I jump in and ask, if I am a member of BBPA with a business not in that neighborhood, what happens to us?
It's available for you too. Yeah.
Every business, not just
every business. Every business.
Every Black business, right?
Every Black business. Every Black business.
Yes, okay.
Every Black
always
business.
remember it's called a Black business.
Yeah, every Black business.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's amazing. I do want to ask though, somebody who hasn't filed their taxes for years, very complicated. They bring you the thing in a paper bag with all the receipts. How detailed are you all going to be?
And so, Sandra, we understand that. We understand that those receipts, thank goodness they're in bags. We understand that they're working 12 hours a day and more because of the system that we live in of anti-Black racism and all these things that does not allow us to get access and to be as have all the opportunities as we should. We get that. That's all we can do is to put those receipts in a plastic bag or in a shoebox. And we will take that plastic bag and that shoebox and those 4 years of undone taxes and have them done to a standard where businesses can be ready. The new game for us is to be ready. And the BBP is here to work with businesses so we are in the state of readiness.
Awesome. Bianca asked, is there any support for online businesses?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh.
With the city of Toronto, I don't know if you've gone to Digital Main Street, there's huge supports in Digital Main Street for online businesses. Whether you want to get a website, whether you want to get search engine optimized, whether you want to set up an e-commerce store, those resources are available.
Okay. Who do I ask about the York Eglinton BIA? Are they supporting this recovery plan?
I think there's multiple people who can answer this question, but I'll jump in and then everyone.
Go ahead. Judy Rodney wants to know, and so do I. Jump in.
Yeah. So this is what we've heard. This is what we heard from the businesses. There were a lot of concerns around the BIA governance, in particularly the York Eglinton BIA, and that there were changes that are needed to restore the trust and make sure that the BIAs are functioning like they should. A lot of the businesses felt that the trust was eroded in the past, that a lot of the Black businesses and, what the Black businesses had envisioned for themselves weren't necessarily protected. York Eglinton BIA wasn't really open-minded to hearing the insights of the Black businesses and really protecting them and kind of what they were offering. I think there was, for us, we got an overwhelming response of frustration. They felt that they weren't supported. They felt like a lot of the times there was an issue with the BIA governance and allowing Black businesses and owners to actually have a role in the BIA and the meetings, being a part of, the executive council committee, and as well as like the transparency and accountability piece. A lot of businesses felt as if, that the chair of the York Eglinton BIA more specifically had his own visions. That was really the most important thing for him, was to protect his vision and not really open up the vision to Eglinton and the businesses on Eglinton. Sorry, Sandra, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to just stop you for a second. We want to say thank you to Cheryl. She has to leave us. And Cheryl, if you want to just have one final word, what is it you want to say?
Yes. So I just want to say that thank you so much, Sandra. So on the final word, when it comes to affordable housing, we're in an emergency. So I've had this idea. I got to jump on it. I got to get it going. So I've started this nonprofit called Partner Housing. As Africans or people of African descent, there are different names for this, but it's, this idea of a shared banking initiative for community purposes. And so what Partner Housing does is it partners with people who have existing properties, and maybe they don't have financing to build an extra story to their house. Maybe they don't have financing to improve the basement or to build a laneway house. I provide the financing for you to make those improvements to your house, and together we provide that house as affordable housing. That could be to maybe your auntie needs some housing, your niece needs some housing. We partner together and we get that housing built and secured for our community. So
awesome. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, so partnerhousing.ca. And great seeing you guys, and we'll catch up another time.
Okay, thank you very much for being part of the conversation. Yes, this is exciting. This is exciting. Do you know you're all awesome? I really want you to know that whenever we talk, sometimes we never hear positives. Things are being done. It won't happen overnight. But 1-1 coca, everybody. 1-1 coca. fill basket. Every mickle maker,
Motto.
everything. It's so important. And somewhere along Eglinton, I want a place that we put up some of these little sayings so that we don't forget them.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
it's part of us. And that part, that storytelling part that talks about, and the music has to be part of it. This is so awesome. I really cannot stress enough. Going to ask Ron. Ron, are you still with
Sure.
us?
Yeah, I think my video is gone, but I can hear.
Okay. So can you sum up, give me a minute and a half, final words from you?
What I can say is that this is an extremely new and exciting process. It is a process, as you said, it will not happen overnight, but what I've seen over the last year when this was initiated and some of the steps we've taken, and there's a lot more to do. But in my years at the city, I've seen how communities have been transformed, and my perspective from the main street up, and it is possible. Something that can be done. I've seen it all across the city where I've worked, and this one is quite doable. We have far to go. We've made immediate steps, and I think there's a larger vision that can be realized.
Okay, thank you. And you told me that people could phone you direct and you would answer. You
Did I say that?
Ron?
Yes, I said that.
You said they can call me, they can email me. So I'm going to ask you to put your email in the chat so that everyone can see it. And if you want to put your business number too, you did say that.
Of course.
So please put it on so that people can have a person that they can make that connection, and you can.
We must engage. I'm a civil servant, and that information is available. You pay my salary, I'm available.
All right, I like you already, and I've just met you. Amazing. So, Dane, sum up. You have 1 minute, Dane. Not 1 minute and 2 seconds.
Ooh, you know I like to talk.
I know.
I like
That's
to
why I'm
talk,
giving
man. You always cutting me off.
I know.
So I quickly just
talk, Tori, jump out. But
I know, I'm sorry.
Dane. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Okay, so quickly, I just want to let everyone know on the business report on page 40, there's actually a great kind of vision of what Little Jamaica, or whatever the community is looking to call it, to identify Black people. There's been like a drawing done by an architect by Tura Wilson, and if you have a chance, take a look. It's great. It kind of details what potentially the area could look like. And
do we have that we could put up at all?
I do have it. I don't know if I'm able to share my screen.
Okay.
If I have the ability to.
Gavin, can you make that happen while Dane? So that would be awesome. Yes, you can.
Perfect. So let me share the screen now.
And somebody said his minute is up. But
my minute is up.
Does this not look amazing?
I think this is worth it. It talks about the new development, a community center, a vendor stall, so pop up and right in this alleyway. There's a Black Star Walk of Fame, so a Walk of Fame commemorating the members of the Black and Caribbean Canadian community. There's a mural of Bob Marley. As you can see, the new bike lanes are green, and all of the crosswalks are yellow, green, and red to represent, the Afro-Caribbean culture. So, I mean, for me personally, I think just to kind of hammer and just conclude overall, I think it's great that we're having these conversations and we're here today, and I really appreciate everyone taking their time out to listen and actually sit in and talk about this.
Okay, your time is up, Gav.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is awesome. Nadine, final 30 seconds to you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I have a dream. I have a dream for two things: that the recommendations in this report, this awesome report done by Black Urbanism Toronto, is carried out in two areas in particular. One of them, it talks about the efforts to address systemic anti-Black racism by focusing on the development.
I forgot I had one.
Someone
sustainable.
needs
More
to
please,
mute,
people talking that's
please.
not muted. I get another minute, Sandra. I get another minute.
No, not really. We are at 7:01, so.
So when we look at that, we look at this, to sort of, to talk about anti-Black racism, focusing on the development of a sustainable Black ecosystem and Little Jamaica's potential role in the said ecosystem, and also to ensure business readiness and procurement and other funding opportunities, and that every business here will thrive, survive, and no one gets left behind. And we all must do this together as a community. It is not one, it's all of us. What happens to one business, it happens to all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron Nash, Dane Williams.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be.
Nadine Spencer. This has been a
very
interesting. The chat has lots of suggestions and they will be heard and listened to. Thank you all on behalf of the Black Business and Professional Association. My name is Sandra Whiting and this was awesome. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, everybody.